Welcome, you guys. My name is Polly Pillen, and I am the Service Learning Liaison in the Office for Civic Engagement. And so we just have 5 students here, and just going to have them each they all have a very different perspective on service learning on campus and their different volunteer and different experiences on campus. So we're going to give them each an opportunity to share those with you. So if we just want to start off, each of you going through and introducing yourself, maybe say what you're studying and kind of briefly, because we'll get into more detail later, but just what your involvement has been. So if you want to start out, Carmen?
I work with the Women's Resource Center on campus, and our group is basically to connect female students with the community on campus and outside of campus, promoting health issues and social awareness about women's issues. So it's been really rewarding working for them for the past 2 years.
Hi, my name is Adina Kalieva, and I'm a senior. I'm studying finance and economics. And I have a lot of campus community work mostly, and I work with the International Student Association, and I've been working with them already for 3 years on the biggest event, International Festival, which is coming up soon. And then I worked with the Day of Dialogue as well, and we're kind of in place of planning the Tunnel of Oppression. I don't know if you guys heard of that event, but it's going to be a pre-event to the Day of Dialogue next year in October. I also work with the ASUM Senate here on campus. We're a student government that represent all the student groups across on campus. I guess that's it.
And my name is Martha Sample. I'm a senior undergraduate in the Environmental Studies program. And I guess I'm here today because I've taken 2 environmental studies classes with the service learning designation. Those were environmental citizenship and environmental justice, both taught by Professor Robin Saha. So that's my service learning experience.
Hi, my name is Mason Gim, and I'm a senior major in sociology. And my experience with service learning is through the Alternative Breaks program that I did last winter, where we went to Hollywood, California, and worked in homeless shelters and applied the concepts of poverty and homelessness that we learned in the classroom to our experience in Los Angeles.
And my name is Emily Welland. I'm a junior, a psychology social work double major, and a biology minor. My experience with social learning is mainly doing an American social learning seminar for psychology, human family development, and social work. Undergraduate internship student, and kind of turning their internship into more of the social learning component.
All right, thank you guys. So now that you've all gone through and introduced yourself and given us a brief little rundown of what you do, if you'd want to go into kind of the successes and challenges that you've experienced through your service learning, and while you're doing that, just kind of feel free to go into more depth about what you've done and how it's gone for you. So you want to start off again, Carmen?
Sure. Well, I guess I'll just touch on how I got involved with the Women's Center. I had just come back from a study abroad trip from Namibia and was sort of reacclimating to being a student, and a friend of mine told me to apply to this little organization that puts on the vagina monologues, and I didn't know much about it, so I thought, okay, I'll give it a shot. And it's been a really rewarding experience because I'm working with 2 other students under the work study, and you're basically given free rein to do all sorts of different programs as long as you can have them sponsored by the community and can get enough money to do it. So our biggest ones are Take Back the Night, which is a march that we do to promote peace in the community and nonviolence towards women and children. And then the Vagina Monologues, which is a huge production by Eve Ensler that each campus, most campuses internationally do every year, and all of the proceeds from that go to another group that promotes nonviolence. And this year it was the Watson Children's Shelter, and it's really hard to do because you have to balance that between school and all of these other things. But it really taught me a lot of time management and how to deal with stress and how to work in a small group and really cooperate and come up with amazing ideas by yourself and be able to just get those out in the community. And it really makes me feel like more of a community member rather than just a college student transplant. So.
And I'd also like to start with the International Student Association. And I came here in 2005 to start out my four-year studies. And I went to the foreign student orientation, and that's when I heard about the International Student Association first. And then I wanted to join in the spring of 2006. And since then, I just couldn't, I just couldn't get away from it, I guess. It's a really fun experience, and there's a lot I learned from it, and not just from other students, but from my own values and beliefs. And I think my, assumptions are always challenged, like how diverse the population here in Missoula is. And with the International Student Association, the biggest event that we have is the International Festival. And this year we are partnering with the Missoula Food Bank. And the idea came up this year because we need to give back to the community more and to be involved in the community. That's why we wanted to bring in Missoula Food Bank this year on Sunday, and hopefully we'll gather a lot more donations. For the International Festival, we have over 3,000 people attending this event in the UC, and it has been very successful, and it's a really positive and a real event for all of our participants and officers in the International Student Association, as well as the foreign students on campus. And it helps them transition and show their culture, spread their culture around on campus. And with a day of dialogue, I helped make a presentation on, it's an educational session that we do during this campus-wide symposium. And mine was on the women participation in the political government of Kazakhstan, where I'm from. And I found out a lot of information. I mean, I had to do a lot of research because I didn't know that actually women participated in a lot of non-governmental organizations in order to increase their participation in the government and other areas of study. So, yeah. Oh.
So through the two courses that I took that were service learning courses, they were both basically group project-oriented courses. So you would get set up with a group, and under a broader theme, which was either for me environmental citizenship or environmental justice, you would kind of select a project with the help of professor, and sometimes you'd have guests come in to recommend projects or recommend partnerships with groups on campus or in the community. And so the two projects that I worked on were first of all, last spring for environmental citizenship. I worked with a group of students to help make the welcome feast in the fall. It's that most people know it as just the thing where they give out free hot dogs on the Oval on the first Friday of school every fall, and it's put on by Student Affairs as a way to kind of make students aware of things that are going on campus, like student groups and Greek life. They all are allowed to set up tables in the Oval, but a big component of it is this free meal that's served by Dining Services. So the director of Dining Services, Mark Leparco, came and spoke to our class and showed interest in having a group of students help Dining Services make the event more sustainable. So we worked basically with Dining Services to develop a proposal for how they could green Welcome Feast. So that involved kind of figuring out what the menu had been in previous years, what the budget was, what alternatives we could come up with for products and practices that they were currently using, and really just learning a lot about how the whole production was put on, and talking to the vice president of student affairs. We had a lot of meetings with a lot of various people who were involved in the event. And I think just using that as an example, some of the challenges of service learning projects like that, especially when it is for a class, are that it's harder to kind of set like what the goal of the class is. Like it's success in those classes is more subjective, and it's not based on, you know, like taking a test or learning enough to write a paper. It's about interacting with real people in real situations. So things don't always go as planned, and it's hard to like set out a goal for yourself and then realize that, you know, something happens and you're not able to, something doesn't work out with someone, and so you have to kind of change course and be able to be flexible. And so that's one thing that I really like about it, is that your success is more based on the process of what you're doing, rather than the end product that you end up turning out. And for this particular project, it ended up being really successful in this fall. They were able to make a lot of changes that we had recommended for them at the event. So I think it did end up being a success, and a success in more ways than one, in that, you know, we learned a lot about communication and how the university system works. But I think that that's kind of one of the challenges, is just learning to be more flexible with goals and expectations.
Right on. Well, so my service learning experience comes through a winter session program called the Alternative Breaks Program, and we started out by studying poverty and reasons for poverty and homelessness and the issues surrounding it. And we spent 2 or 3 days in the classroom talking about how we felt about poverty and about homelessness as an issue. And then we went to Los Angeles, California, where I led a student group of 9 of us, along with Polly, down there. And we had a really great experience, starting out with taking some of the questions we had already formed in our minds and asking homeless people themselves how they got to where they are now and where their plans are for the future. And I think it really helped myself have a better understanding of homeless, at least the homeless people that I had met, and understanding the ways that, that it could really be me someday. I'm one paycheck away, or one accident away from maybe being that person, and it helped give me a sense of humility, where I knew that now I needed to make sure that I was giving back to the community, and making sure that these programs continue to survive and have vitality, so that, if anything, for myself, but for my friends or anybody that could maybe be in a position like that one day. And that was an attitude that, I wasn't so sure about before I went down there. And after working in homeless shelters for a week and seeing the many different ways that they can help out down there, the ways that Los Angeles is trying to address the problem of homelessness, I was able to take those ideas that I learned down there and apply them to some projects that I'm working on my own time. Through some other projects, I'm now a part of a hunger cleanup program here in Missoula that's going to gather volunteers to get sponsored per hour to go out and volunteer in a hunger or homeless institution around town, and then give them their volunteer time and money. And then it's also changed the ways that I've felt like I can make a contribution in the world. And it totally dictated one of my senior projects that I'm working on right now. And I'm now doing a project on evaluating the services that are provided to homeless in Missoula, and asking the question, are we giving them a hand up or hand out? And I feel like that's a very important question to ask, and that's definitely the mission statement of a lot of homeless shelters down there, and definitely impacted myself and changed me for the better.
Well, I have a lot of experience doing direct service. For example, I volunteer at SOS on campus, helping one group for for a client to get referred for alcohol don't light up. But most of what I consider my experience with learning had been more on the teaching or maybe the academic side of civic learning. Running my seminar had been interesting. I think it helped that I did have some teaching experience going in. I had TA'd for Introduction to Arnold and also Introduction to Psychology. But it definitely a learning experience. Looking back on the fourth semester, there's something that I would have done much differently and something that I changed this semester. For example, I gave students more input in the topic we covered, and I actually offered it at 2 different times to accommodate people's different schedules. One of which is actually at 4 p.m. today, so when I re-worry, that's why. But it's been an interesting experience, it's been a good experience, and it definitely taught me probably the main thing is important in networking. Because for my seminar, I like to bring in a lot of speakers who had a lot of expertise in the area, like ethics, disability, multiculturalism, and it has just really helped me knowing those professors around campus and knowing those people, knowing, okay, the student wants to talk about multiculturalism, it would be a good idea to contact, say, Dr. Sweeney, because that's what she researches. And it also helped you have a lot of personal experience, even if not directly in what the student are doing, experience that can relate. For example, I had one student who'd been volunteering at a rural fire department, and talking to her, I found out she's interested in doing biomedical stuff and going into medicine. So it really helped. I'd had some experience doing biomedical research myself, and I was able to transition that into focus on the human services I would with other students and more focus on biomedicine and the aspect that. Probably the biggest challenge had been getting people to come. But I think that's going to be a challenge when you have any class that not a whole part of any credit. Attend the end part of their grade, but not the entirety of it. But overall, it's been a really good experience and a really good teaching experience. So.
All right, thanks, Emily. So I guess all day we've been in sessions, talking about, faculty's perspective on service learning and why it should be implemented. And the thing that we've been talking about it all day is how it benefits the students. So I know you've already touched on this a little bit, but maybe go into more detail about how it's impacted you and how you've been able to learn more because you are out in the community and doing this service and connecting it back into the classroom, and just how it's impacted you professionally, personally, and academically. So we can start off, Carmen.
I think mostly it's just really helped me find my place here at the university. I came here my first year utterly terrified, unsure if I should even be here, with the impression that I would be this wonderful, refined person by the time I left. And I do feel that way. And this has helped just to realize that I do have something to bring to the community, that I'm not just going to college to learn and to take everything in, but that I can also give back. And being part of the Women's Center has helped me to find these other really amazing programs to take up as soon as I graduate. There's things like Word and Weave and the YWCA and just so many other places that I can implement myself. And so the Women's Center has been a good jump start to all of this. And so I'll most likely take everything I learned and just keep going at it.
I think these projects really promote growth for every student on a personal level. For me, it was sort of like the wisdom horizon kind of expanded more, and I met a lot of people while working on these projects. I met a lot of people from different diverse backgrounds, and it made me feel like I had a voice as an international student, as a foreign student, and like not to make me feel any different from everybody else, and a feeling, a high feeling, high sense of feeling like you're in the community and you belong, and again that it's a friendly community. This is Missoula, and a lot of students choose to come here because there's so many good people here, and I think people are kind of scared to involve themselves in diverse populations, but once you get out there and try to promote diversity, and not just racial diversity, but gender, sexual orientation, ability, disability, all kind of diversity issues, then you just become more, you understand more. On a professional level, there's a huge development and improvement in skills, and learning how to be a team member, learning how to solve problem when it comes to you, learn how to act in different situations with different people, especially because we're all different. I mean, you say something to somebody and they might take it in the wrong way or something. So it's on the professional level, it's sort of communication, in the communication way. And on an academic level, I guess I learned a lot about how nonprofit organizations work, and like student groups work, and how they fundraise, how they advertise, how they're structured, and how they do their planning throughout the year and for the future as well.
Okay. Well, I agree that I think one of the most valuable things that I've learned is how to communicate effectively with people that I'm working with, and kind of networking fits into that too. But just, I mean, I've had to meet with a lot of different people, mainly who are our staff or faculty at the university, because both of the projects that I've worked on have been within the university community. And it can at times be really challenging to try to get everybody on the same page and understand where everybody's coming from, because a lot of times people are off in their own little worlds doing their job, and it's hard to kind of get everybody together to work towards this communal effort. So I think that is a really important skill that I've learned. Also, because my projects have been working within the university, I've learned a lot about the way the university works, which is really confusing and really bureaucratic a lot of times, and really frustrating a lot of times. And I think that has probably been one of the very most valuable things, because, I mean, it's an institution, and it's there's the strange power structure, and you have to know the right people to talk to and know who's in charge of this or that, and a lot of times you have to go through a lot of people to figure out who's actually in charge of it, and so I think that has been also really valuable. Will probably come in handy in the future. So I think that just like working with different kinds of people, with different jobs, different roles, other students, people in charge. So yeah, it's been really helpful.
Well, I talked about how my service learning experience in Hollywood has affected me, but I also did an internship while I was here at the university that wasn't designated service learning, but could be if they tried to. I did an internship through an organization called Montperg, And in Montpellier, I was taking classes once a week on how to grassroots organize and how to become an advocate of interest and how to throw events and how to create movement behind an issue that I care about. And I tell you what, after taking some of those classes and then practicing petitioning and practicing hosting events and doing that sort of things, I loved it so much. I almost wondered why I was still in school and why I just go and be an advocate and just do all this great work that I wanted to do to help solve all the world's problems. And I think that really the service learning classes helped me connect these great big theories that I'm learning about and apply them in real world applications to issues that are happening right now, in Missoula, at the state level, at the national level, and understanding how I can better fit in with those roles. Because of wonderful courses like the Alternative Breaks course or my internships, I've definitely been able to see how I can have my place in this world. And I think that me having a purpose has been essential for my own self-esteem and for hopefully everybody around me.
Well, one thing you learn when you start teaching is that teaching is a lot harder than you may think it is and a lot harder than they look. And when I go to grad school, I want to get a PhD in school psychology, and I think it's really good to have that teaching experience because in grad school that's pretty much how you fund yourself, and also working within the school system. I think it would be good to say, yes, I understand how hard it can be to plan a survey. I understand all the things that go on in teaching. You don't even think about what you do if you have a guest speaker and they don't show, or all the things like that. And I think it's been a great compliment to my experience TAing, because you get the cult management aspect as well as the different aspect of getting your TAing, which can be more grading or more running the discussion section. You also get the experience of the whole thing kind of being on your shoulders. Not that I hadn't a great faculty mentor, Dr. Silverman, I have. But it is a really good experience. It can be challenging sometimes, it can be exhausting, but it is a good experience. And I think in terms of the students, I think it's good for them because one thing I like to ask them is, how does your internship connect to your cult work? And a lot of them will flat out say it doesn't. And that thing I learned really prepared me for what I'm doing. And my goal when I do the seminar is to try to make that connection between what you can learn in a class and what you can actually do. So I hope it's been beneficial to them.
Thank you. All right, so the next question might not apply to all of you, as some of your experiences aren't directly associated with the classroom, but how, we talked a lot today about faculty and the relationship between them and the students. How would you say that faculty have directly impacted or influenced your service learning experiences? So if you want to pass on this one, feel free.
Well, I will say I don't have a lot of experience with that in the classroom, but I have had a lot of amazing professors, and a lot of them who have helped the Women's Center with most of our projects, just coming up with themes, with speakers. Oftentimes I'll ask our professors to speak at some of our events just because we have good relationships with them and from their background of study. So it has been incredibly helpful, more than I know.
Me too. I haven't really directly worked with faculty, but I have several professors in my mind that helped us. Were like speakers at our events, and one of my professors actually he's in the management and marketing area in the business school, and he's also a president of the Missoula International Friendship Program, and he was really involved in the community. He was also the president of ISA long time ago, and I think he really inspired a lot of students to join the community, and especially international students to kind of come together with the community, that they shouldn't be afraid of sort of staying in one side, but go out there and yeah.
Well, as maybe the only person who's taken a service learning as a course, I guess I can comment on the role of the professor in the class, and I think that Robin Saha was the professor for both of my classes, and I think that his role in both classes was kind of as a facilitator and providing some structure to our projects and providing outlets for us to assess and reflect on what we were doing, because I think it's easy to get caught up in a project and kind of start going on different tangents, and it's really good to be required to kind of step back for a second and think about what your original goals were, maybe how they've changed, what direction you're going in, and reflect on your successes and challenges. That said, I think that Robin also does an exceptional job of being a really great mentor and being available to kind of direct if you're losing direction, or provide suggestions, or just kind of help you through difficulties or roadblocks that you face. If someone won't meet with you or isn't cooperating as well as you'd hoped, I think that he was always really helpful in suggesting another way to try, or kind of the part of the classroom part of both of the classes I took, he would lecture about how to communicate effectively, or how to hold meetings, or how to kind of get people to work with you effectively. So I think that all that information too, like taking a class at the same time as doing a project that actually implements those skills, is a really good combination. And that, I think, is where the faculty has come into the picture with my experiences, and it's been really great. Definitely.
So in my service learning class, I do have to say that my professor at the time did an excellent job of fostering critical thinking within myself and the group. We were looking at poems that were asking us our own opinions about certain issues, and we were looking at doing course readings that pointed out some things that we wouldn't have normally been able to see if it hadn't been for the in-depth studies. And it put these questions in our minds before we were actually going out there into the field to apply these concepts that definitely gave me a greater sense of understanding about how I might be approached, by the world when these issues come about. And so my professor did a good job of getting that critical thinking part in there, as well as the self-evaluation. How do I feel about these issues, and how do I think the best ways to handle these issues are? And I think that part of the service learning course, along with the journaling that we were doing, and the post-service work write-up that we did, and everything that we've had to do to perform all the requirements of a service learning class, actually were entirely critical to us making the experience a holistic one. And I think with that in mind, it's definitely a course designation that I hope everybody would have to take someday.
Well, in terms of interaction with faculty, mine come probably in two parts. The first part is faculty and teaching mentors, which is really helpful. Helpful to have someone to look over your survey, to talk to when a student brings a certain issue to you and you don't know what to do. And to give you that sort of feedback, that sort of guidance. All of the faculty who I've been mentored by teaching have been great about that. They've always been good at giving feedback and giving advice, but also letting me kind of fly on my own. And if any of you, I'm sure many of you teach now or had taught, and when you're starting out, that's really helpful that someone you can go to, or multiple people, in the case maybe. And also in terms of the interaction with the faculty, like I said before, it taught me the benefit of knowing the faculty, because like when the student wanted to do a topic on ethics, I knew a social work professor who taught ethics, so I asked him to come in and prepare something based on what they said they were interested in, which I don't think would have worked so well had I been not someone he knew. Or for the student that was interested in biomedical research, being able to email my biomedical research professor and say, I had a student who's really interested in biomedical research. Do you think we could get a tour of the lab someday? And I think in terms of relying on faculty expertise and faculty guidance, that has been really helpful, and I'm really, really appreciative to all the faculty who had helped me out either directly or indirectly.
All right, thank you, Emily. All right, we actually just have one more question left, and then we'll open up to any questions that you guys might have. But what advice would you give to students who maybe didn't have any experience on campus with volunteering or service learning? What advice would you give to them on how to get involved, or maybe also what would you maybe have done differently on your kind of path to where you are now in regards to kind of volunteering and service learning on the whole?
I think the most important part about starting at any college or university is finding roots. So I would say pick something that you're passionate about, or at least even a little interested in, and apply it. You know, get involved. I know my first spring break that I spent here, I did an Office of Civic Engagement program in Northern California restoring sand dunes. So, I mean, even if it's spending, you know, a Christmas break, a spring break, just getting involved with one group, and you never know, by the end you could be leading that group by the end of your college career, or you could have started your own group. Yeah, I think mostly it's important to try to connect with someone with a group.
I would say just go for it. I guess find an organization that you can match with in terms of mission and their goals and what they do, and try to attend their meetings, contact the representative of the group. And it's just, you never know if you're interested in something or if you like something until you actually do it and try it. So I think, like, from my experience, I was kind of like, okay, I'll just go and do my studies. But then, you know, when you you're kind of, it doesn't feel really, you know, valuable. Like, you're kind of just wasting sort of time in a way that you're not even adding to the community if you're not, you know, meeting people and experiencing this. So I think it's just stepping up and trying to find an organization that you can sort of, you know, collaborate with, help out at, and it makes you feel good as a person, and it also, and you're also making someone else feel good. So it's like two-way sort of approach to things.
Well, before I had taken environmental citizenship last spring as a class, I really struggled a lot with wanting to do really well academically and spending a lot of time on classes and striving to achieve in that area. And so that kind of, for me at least, kind of presented a challenge in getting involved with the community, both on campus and in the larger Missoula community. And I always kind of said, well, you know, I don't have time to do those kinds of things. I can't really justify it. It's just too much. And so taking this class, for me, provided a really good way for me to get involved while it still counted as school. So, I mean, I was getting credits, and it counted as a class, so I guess maybe that's how I justified it at first. And then I was kind of hooked. So then I started doing more stuff just on my own and outside of class. I took environmental justice, which was another service learning class, this past fall. But I've also since helped co-found a climate student group on campus that has been pretty successful and active this year, which has been really rewarding. And I'm also doing an internship now. And just, I feel a lot more involved than I did last year. And so I think that it can be daunting for some students who don't think that they have time maybe to just volunteer and get involved in groups that they don't really have any connection to at first. But I think it's a really good way to segue into kind of community activism by making it part of a course and part of your academic career, and then that can kind of lead to other things. And I mean, I think that it should be a requirement for all students, frankly. Like, I think it's great, and no matter what your background is, you can definitely succeed in courses that have service learning components.
Right. Well, I agree. I think it should definitely be a requirement for students as well, of any discipline, really. Service learning is one of those things that can be applied to just about any aspect of the community, and I think it really gives the students the hands-on experience necessary to know what they're getting into. I know a lot of the times I felt like, you know, how can I apply this knowledge I'm learning in school to a job or to anything real? And service learning has given me that opportunity to see that there are avenues for using my, new knowledge from coming to the university, and that those areas are vital for, the necessary functioning, or for a properly functioning society. And I feel like, whether it be, an economics student, or whether it be business, or, sociology or art or whatever, there's definitely a need in the community for students to get involved. And then when students are getting involved at a younger age, they're more likely to be involved later. And therefore, we can increase a civic responsibility among the population as a whole, and hopefully actually be able to eradicate some of these problems of society that we're seeing today.
Thank you. And Emily actually had to leave early because she had to go teach her service learning seminar. So, but if we want to open it up to any questions you guys have for everyone or a specific student, does anybody have any questions?
I do. Oh, go ahead. That's fine. I'm Cindy Garthwaite, and I teach social work and do a number of service learning courses. And sometimes what faculty members who don't yet, I think, teach service learning might say is that it's not as academically rigorous. They think it's sort of like I just heard it say, a sweet little volunteer thing or something. They don't really see it as tied to the course and challenging for students. So what would you say about that? Does it make it more academically rigorous for you to have to apply this?
Who?
And I'm going to repeat the question so the question was if the service learning courses are academically rigorous because they've often been deemed by critics as fluffy?
I I think I can hopefully address that question. There's an aspect of school where they throw so much information at you that you just regurgitate it onto a test, and then you're like, oh, well, I passed the class, and so therefore I have this knowledge, and everybody suspects that I know all these things when, maybe sometimes that information didn't stick. I think in a service learning course, through the evaluations that you have to do and through the real world applications, it makes that knowledge stick. It makes it so that you understand more fully the issues that you're trying to address and the reasons why you're doing stuff. And it gives myself as a student a sense of purpose as to why I'm going to school. And so it's, I think it's actually more difficult because we do have to actually critically analyze ourselves and what we're learning and our classes as a whole, rather than just regurgitate it for a test so we can get onto some transcripts.
Yeah, and I would definitely agree that the service learning courses that I've taken have been some of the hardest and most challenging classes that I have taken, because it's not that you substitute course material for volunteer projects. It's in addition to it. So it's not like, oh, just go volunteer and like that'll be your hours for class. It's like, we're going to sit in class and do readings and do lectures, and you're going to take notes and write papers, and you're going to spend your own time scheduling meetings with people and meeting with your group and figuring stuff out. And that said, I agree that it's also really rewarding to like see the real life effects of what you're learning in class and actually apply them and see how it works out, because it's one thing to, like make up a hypothetical situation and it all works out for you because you made it up. But it's another thing to like actually implement the things you're learning and see that it doesn't, always work out, and then apply those same concepts to make it work out, to adjust and find success in your own way. So yeah, yeah.
I just like to say that without this experience, we wouldn't be able to take those skills and apply it to the real world. And even like, for example, I'm finance and economics major, and I'm International Student Association, and I don't really do like specifically finance stuff or economic stuff, but it's something that I feel that I have passion for. It doesn't have to be, and I learn those skills and I apply them in, the internships that I do and in the peer advising and everything. And it's not, it doesn't have to be necessarily applicable to the major that you're doing in it, and to be called academically, challenging. So I think that it's just because it covers different areas of study, and that's why I think it can't be just called like fluffy, because you learn from it and then you share your experiences and then you give yourself a conclusion. Okay, next time I'm going to have this kind of a project, this is how I'm going to go about it, and I'm not going to, this is a process that I need to take. This is how the techniques that I learned so that I could do networking, so I could do communication. And those are skills that are transferable to every area of study.
Do you have a question?
Yeah. First off, just thanks for sharing. It's really good to have a very articulate group. You guys present yourself very well. And it's kind of part of my question, and also it kind of piggybacks on what Cindy just said, is I've heard a lot just today, dialogue about reflection, organized reflection, and whether that is a valuable kind of academic component. Certainly it has value in the service learning context. I've been writing little notes all over the room, probably think I'm crazy, but just some blurbs. You guys talked about feedback, discussion, analysis, giving yourself a conclusion, self-assessment, critical thinking, journaling, post-service write-up. All of these things kind of have this connotation of reflection. So I wonder if you could maybe share what the most valuable or the highest yield reflection activity that you guys participated in as part of your service. Could be, I guess, anything, but.
I guess I could start. I guess I'll go back to the production that we did this year that was benefiting the Washington Children's Shelter. And so far this has been as far as theater productions go with the Women's Center, the feedback that we got was that it was the best one that's ever been done at the university. So that felt really good to know that, amid school and all of these other things in life, 3 people are able to put on this amazing production that was able to raise, I think it was a little over $4,000 for the children's shelter. So, I mean, just being able to do that, it was all, it just felt really good. It felt, just added a lot to my own self-esteem and all of those other things that we said add to doing service learning projects.
I think evaluation and analysis after the project is done, it's really important and crucial, because then next time when you go about it, you know what happened wrong and what challenges you faced. And I think, for example, like when we put up the international festival, and we try to reach the Missoula community more, and we try to, not just the campus community, but so that everybody could come. And we do face, since we're kind of the people like behind the stage, kind of trying to work things within that nobody really sees. It's kind of like behind the stage. So it's easier to see those mistakes. And then after that, we have a discussion. Okay, well, everyone took an area in the festival. Like I was part of the culture show that's upstairs on the 3rd floor, and we had to contact the community members who wanted to volunteer or who wanted to perform for the show, and set up a rehearsal date and talk to them about what they wanted to do. And we had a lot of problems. I mean, people didn't show up or canceled and things like that. And afterwards, we had a discussion about it. Okay, I think we should do a different way now. I think maybe there's ways to reach out through other campus organizations, or it doesn't have to be just one way of doing things. And for example, for the Day of Dialogue and the Tunnel of Oppression that we're going to do as a pre-event for next year, I'm in charge of kind of putting student groups together so they can actually brainstorm ideas, what it's going to look like, because it's really important issue of oppression, privilege, power. It affects everybody. And at first, I sent out an email to all the student groups, and nobody came to the meeting. And then I realized that it's kind of a marketing sort of approach to narrow it down to specific. I mean, I learned actually in class, and then I came to the volunteer coordinator for the Day of Dialogue, and I asked her, do you think that we should just talk face-to-face to the student groups and narrow it down specifically to the groups that are interested in this issue, and then talk to them about it? And so it's much more effective, and I hope our next meeting is going to be involving much more people, because it just makes you kind of take this skill, take this technique, and put it in another areas. So.
For both of the classes that I've taken, I've had to write up basically like a final paper at the end of the semester that goes through all the basics of introduction, process, and then analysis and conclusion. And for environmental justice, we had to also write personal reflections on the project that were attached to that kind of final paper, which was really great, because there are some things that don't necessarily fit into kind of a formal academic paper that are really good to be able to say. And I think a lot of it also provides an outlet to kind of look back at skills that you gained personally that maybe didn't necessarily further the project in a sense of what you would write in a write-up. But I found it very valuable to be able to, just sit down and think about what I did that I hadn't had to do before, and if that worked out, and what successes I had, and what I felt like I did effectively, that I want to remember and keep on doing. And also, I think that it provides a way for people who might continue the project in the future. The project that I did for environmental justice was a project that had been started by students in the class the year previous, so we got to read their final paper. And it was really great to be able to read their reflections and see what their frustrations and obstacles had been and what worked well for them, and say, okay, well we can learn from that right off the bat and learn from their mistakes and move forward with their recommendations. And so I know that doesn't always happen in these cases, but I think beyond what it does for you or the student personally, it can also help provide future participants in the project with some insight as well.
Wow, that was probably better said than I could. I would say the same thing, that the final reflection paper was absolutely crucial to helping solidify all the ideas and concepts and things that I'd done into a way so that I can judge them, and so that people in the future can judge them, and then so we can better understand how to address these issues or problems or whatever the case may be. But one single one, definitely the paper, I think at the end. More so just because actually having to think about things is, and think about them on an analytical level, really offers the insight into all this whole host of other things that you might not ever get on a regular research paper, talking about what you found on the peer-reviewed literature. It's definitely more in-depth and gave me more questions about myself and about the issue, and so one thing is the paper for sure.
Thank you. Does anybody else have any questions? No? All right, let's give them a round of applause. You guys are amazing.